Should we make over 70s retake their driving test? There's a special programme on 5 this weekend looking at the issue of road safety as coroner Dr James Adderley investigates the tragic deaths of 4 people, all killed by drivers that had issues with their eyesight. Peter Westwell was hit by Neil Pemberton as he crossed the road near Blackburn in March in 2022. He had a long history of eye disease. He was told on several occasions by clinicians he should not drive, but carried on driving anyway. And Ferguson died in July 2023. She was struck by Vernon Law in a van in Rochdale. A month before, Law was told that he had cataracts in both eyes, but he lied to his optometrist, saying that he did not drive. And Grace Foulds and Mary Cunningham were both struck by Glyn Jones as they crossed the road in Southport in November 2021. Jones was 68. He was aware his sight was insufficient to meet the minimum requirement to drive a car, but he failed to declare it. Here's a clip from the show.
How can it happen? How can that happen?
Mary's son, Terry, went to investigate within hours of the crash.
I did pull up at the side of the road and the police were still outside. And the bus shelter light was so bright. And the post box, I don't think I'll ever get that image.
My goodness, that really is actually heartbreaking, isn't it? Cause of Death is the name of the programme. It airs this Sunday at 9 p.m. on Channel 5. Now, you must renew your driving licence when you do turn 70 and every 3 years after that. But there's no requirement to retake your test. When it comes to road safety, should we, do you think, make older drivers retake the driving test? 0207 862 2222 is the number. Do give us a ring. Let's start with you, Leslie. What do you think about this one?
It's so difficult because when you get to a certain age, you know, you feel lonely, and if you don't have the car to get to places, I think it cuts a lot of people off. So that's, I think, why people lie. I remember my father did it as well.
I think loads of people.
Yeah, I've just had to change my licence, not because I'm 70, because I'm it just ran out, but and because I've got a blue badge and everything. It took forever to come back. But I think, I think it's probably a good idea because of your eyesight gets so bad. I have trouble driving at night because it fractures all the glare and stuff like that. But also, I'm on medication, and I think you should have to declare that and stuff like that, you know?
Jeremy, people obviously cherish driving. It's absolutely the hallmark of independence, especially if you live in the country where transport's, erratic at best.
My mum wouldn't be able to survive without a car. She lives out in the sticks near me. And it would be, I completely understand it, but my biggest worry is, and obviously huge sympathy for these families, because is that I don't want it to just be another cash cow, another thing for people to start charging loads of money, another way for them to get an extra tax on people.
Yep.
But I do think the minimum you should have to do, not necessarily the whole driving test, but the eye test. Because I think to take your whole... I don't know if I'd pass my driving test.
Well, that's the other thing.
Do you know what
Larry,
I mean?
if they made you retake yours, this afternoon, do you think you'd pass the test?
Well, I had to do one of those speed awareness courses. And what do you take it like that? Lots of people have to do
I
them.
confess to having done a couple myself.
And then we had to do a bit in the car. And what I found kind of worrying was that she would point, the woman with me would point to various road markings which weren't in the test when I did it in 1980, whatever it was.
Right.
Yeah.
I didn't have it. Different coloured bollards. I have no idea what any of this stuff is because it wasn't in my test. So I probably also would not pass the test. I do think the sight test is a good idea. But I think we have to remember that most accidents are caused by young people, not caused by older people. And actually, it's young boy racers that are the biggest problem on the road.
Right, now tell you what, we'll go to the calls, because loads of calls coming in on this subject, which doesn't surprise me at all. Let's start with Sally, who's on the line in Surrey. Sally, you're 76 and you think you're a damn good driver.
Well, I think I am, given the fact that I'm still working, albeit part-time, but I've been in direct sales for 40 years, which relied on commission only, visiting people in their homes, designing bedrooms, etc., etc. And I did a trip yesterday, 69 miles there and 69 miles back, saw a customer. I do find that sometimes I get caught on the 30-mile limits because in West Sussex, they're pretty brutal on things like that, so I do watch my speed a lot. I would be happy to take a test, I think, because I did used to teach people to drive for a brief period. So I do keep my eye on everything. I make sure that I keep my eyes tested every year. So I wouldn't have any objection to a test, but I think it should be looked at people's history on accidents and speeding and things like that.
I suppose that's complicated and expensive, though, Sally. I mean, either they're going to make it an age cut-off point, let's say at 70, or it would be too complicated, wouldn't it, to look at each individual driver's, driving history and then decide whether they do or don't deserve to take a test. If I said to you, Sally, you've got to take a test this afternoon, would you be nervous, anxious? Would you think, oh, my God, how on earth do I do a three-point turn? I can't remember. Or would you be confident, just sail in there?
I think I'd be fairly confident because I'm doing three-point turns in people's drivers quite often,
Yeah.
So I think I'd be fairly confident.
A very accomplished 76-year-old driver. Sally, thanks so much for calling. Calls coming in thick and fast. We'll be taking more of those. Let's go straight to David in Cheshire. David, you're 78 and you have stopped driving. What happened? Why did you make that decision?
Well, I got to the stage where I could not understand the modern style of driving.
What do you mean by that, David? What do you mean the modern style? What was it that had changed, you thought?
Tailgating, cutting in front of you, overtaking you closely. Now, I think that 70, you should have a driving test, but parameters set on what you can drive. Because I know of a senior gentleman who wanted to buy a new car, and he just simply couldn't understand the technology of it.
I'm not surprised. I mean, absolutely. I can't work the microwave, let alone one of these cars with all the computers. I've got quite an old car, was second-hand when I originally got it, and I understand everything, although the radio's on the blink, lots of it doesn't work very well. But one of those tech ones that's a bit like a kind of rocket, they are really intimidating and difficult to work, I think. David, since stopping driving, how has your life changed? Has it been difficult to adjust to not driving anymore?
A little bit. There are times when I think I could do going out, I could do with a car. But mostly I manage with public transport.
And it's okay, in your neck of the woods, it works okay for you, does it? Where are you?
It works okay for me, yes.
Good.
Because I need limited access to bigger towns.
Appreciate the call, David. Thank you very much. Indeed, so David took the decision himself, thinking, well, not the driver I used to be. I totally get what he's saying about the difference in the way people drive now. Have you noticed that, Larry?
Yeah, and also my sister has a car which has got an LCD display.
Yeah.
And I just think that that's quite distracting for me. I'm like you. I have an old car that
What's an LCD? What does LCD
Well, no,
mean?
it's got like a screen.
Liquid crystal
It's
display.
a screen
Blimey.
inside the car which tells you various things,
computer thing.
And that's. But you're supposed to have your eyes there, not there. I think so. Yeah, I have an old car like you.
I mean, while I'm on telly, I might as well say it. Why have people stopped indicating? What's that about?
Yeah.
What is that about? You think you need to do that to preserve yourself from me going into the back of you, you beep. Am I allowed to say beep? It's my show. I can say beep as often as I want to. OK, let's go to Shirley. Shirley's in Flintshire. Shirley, you're trying your best to be a really good driver, I hear.
I'm not going to say I'm the best driver in the world.
Right.
But for my age, I'm 79 and I get about in a car. I'm quite happy where I go. I even practice doing three-point turns if it's a very narrow road. If I'm meeting a friend, which I've done, and I think, oh, it's good practice, it's this, it's that. I don't go like 100 miles out of my area. I can still go to Prestatyn. But the frightening thing is that I think 3 years ago I was in an accident, and it was someone on an icy road going to Rapes Lane to take my dog in. And you know what? He was that close to my car on an icy road. He didn't even see me signalling a good 5 minutes before we went. And he admitted it was his fault. He said, it's a 60-mile-an-hour road. I went, not on a bloody icy road.
Exactly.
What is the matter with you?
Yeah.
And he admitted the fault and everything. But, there's a lot of people. I've been cut up lately. My daughter's been in the car, and I've gone, "Don't worry, I've got the camera. Don't worry, and don't panic."
Really? Can I ask you something, Shirley? If somebody said to you, you know, you've got to retake the test, would you do it, and would you feel quite confident about it, or would it be something that would worry you a lot?
I wouldn't say I'd be overconfident because I do practice certain things in it now.
Yeah.
But to me, if I wouldn't actually mind taking just a sort of half an hour test to see if I could do a 3-point turn or down a road or the turnings, the space I took. But there are so many drivers now. I've been cut up going down one lane, and he's got to the lights, and I've gone, where did it? I stay very calm, and I just think, why?
Let's just bring Jeremy in because he wants to say something to you.
Well, I was going to say, I think she made a really good point about you wouldn't mind. And I was thinking, we do MOTs for our cars, but not for ourselves. Yeah. And I think perhaps not the full test, but a refresher course, a little refresher course, a bit like if you do a speed awareness thing like you, Larry, but something like that you could perhaps go and you could volunteer to do. So you can check your eyes at the same time and remind yourself.
Yeah, but the whole volunteer thing, this is the issue. Lots of people don't fill in the form correctly. They want to carry on driving. They say everything's fine, it's not really. So those people wouldn't be the people that would volunteer. Well, then I'd say it has to be that either everyone does it or everyone doesn't do it.
Fair, but then I think of a refresher rather than the full thing.
All right. Let's bring Rosemary in. She's in Hertfordshire. What do you think, Rosemary? Do you think this is a good idea?
Yes, I do, Vanessa. I'm very, very keen on doing that. I mean, I'm 80 now, and I've always been a good driver. I've driven all around the country. But I think at 70, you do need to retake your test. As your other people have been saying, it doesn't have to be a full test, but you certainly need to refresh yourself. I stopped driving when I was 78 because I had arthritis in my hands. And I thought, probably by the time I had that fixed, I'd be able to drive again. And both my daughters said, "No, Mother, you shouldn't really be. You need to retake your test." Although my eyesight, I have it tested regularly, and it's fine. So I decided not to drive anymore.
But how is life now?
Not having a car.
What's life like now, though, Rosemary? Now you don't drive, because I'd like someone to describe, if you wouldn't mind, the change in your life when you can't just pop into the car and nip out, because it's an incredibly freeing thing to be able to do, isn't it? It gives you real independence. So what's it been like not driving for you?
An absolute nightmare. I hate it. Having driven for so many years, I have to get a taxi to go to various appointments. My children live all around the country and all around the world, so they're not always available. And, I can't get anywhere. I'm sort of stuck. It's absolutely awful.
Awful.
But I wouldn't drive again.
You would. And well, thank you so much for telling us about it, honestly, because this is the thing, and this is why people don't fill in the form, truthfully, because they just can't face.
But, I wonder whether it's also generational, because I've got kids, teenage, early 20s, and none of them can drive and none of them want to drive.
And
now, of course, they live in London,
right,
so there is public transport, but they have no interest in it. And I find that incredible. They've heard, driving's killing the planet, driving, and they've imbibed this and they now believe all of that.
And also parking is just so expensive.
Yes,
well.
but I think particularly with a teenage girl, having her able to drive and look after herself and be safe, for me, that was a really important part of the freedom of having a car as a woman, absolutely.
And it was a kind of mark, a sort of milestone of being a grown-up, wasn't it, Jeremy?
Huge. The first time I got out to drive on my own, I was terrified, but I got on with it, and then it opened up my world, because I grew up living outside of a city, so not having a car was a nightmare for me. I'd have to get literally a long walk or a bus, and then a train to Reading to then get wherever to go about. So it was absolutely meant the world to me. So I
massive generational gap, isn't it?
I remember when you used to be able to just drive into town, go to a discotheque or whatever, and I didn't drink. I just danced all night and then got in the car and drove home at 3 o'clock in the morning. You could park on a yellow line.
I mean, completely could relax knowing that you've got your car,
safe,
and you're in charge of yourself, not dependent on anyone else. A really big deal. Let's talk to Margaret. Hello there. Good to hear from you, Margaret. You're blaming younger drivers for problems, really?
Not totally. I've been driving since I was 17. I'm 82 in December. I'm still driving now. I go to keep fit. I go swimming. I've got a neighbour who I take around because she's very mobile. I haven't had an accident. I have never done for speeding. I have my eyes tested. I go shopping in the early morning, like I was in the swimming pool at 6:45 this morning.
Putting everyone to shame, Margaret. You really are. You're an absolute dynamo. Gosh.
Well, if I felt that I couldn't drive, if I felt bad, then I would give it up, like my dad did. But at the moment, I lost my husband nearly 3 years ago. I'm very independent from all my family. They're all very good, but I do get around, and as long as I can get outside my door and get in my car, I'm happy. I'm willing to take a test if they would want, if that becomes mandatory, but I don't feel I should, because a lot of young drivers haven't got the experience. I can see people, what they're doing. It's ridiculous.
Absolutely true. I couldn't agree more. Thank you so much for the call, and more power to you. I mean, Margaret's this advertisement, isn't she, for being over 80 and having this absolutely sublime independence. And also she knows she could. And also when she said, I'd take a test happily, you know that she must be a really good driver.
Yeah. And if you took that away from her, she'd probably change completely.
Yeah, absolutely. And our caller who said it's a nightmare. It is a nightmare, isn't it? Denise is on the line in North Yorkshire. Hi, Denise. What do you reckon with this?
Hi, I'm just listening to your previous two callers and similar responses to them. My only view is the easiest thing to do would, when you apply for your licence after you're 7, is to submit with that application your most recent eye test that said, from Boots or whatever, that had to be taken within the last, say, 3 months before you reapplied for your driving licence.
Actually, that makes very good sense, doesn't it? And shouldn't cost anybody anything except you for the eye test, which might be free as well, mightn't it? Yeah. Denise, that's a damn good idea. In fact, it's such a good idea. I wonder why they don't just do that straight away.